I'm joined this morning by Neele, who is with us on the M206 cruise. Welcome. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for letting me be here.
Okay, no problem. And can we start by just asking you a little bit about you?
Yeah, well, I'm from Germany and I study in my master's basically, and I'm doing that at GeoMar, and I'm also working there. And in contrast to all the others here, I'm studying climate physics, so I have no chemistry background but rather a physics background. And in that way I'm interested in the climate basically, and also in physical oceanography, so where the ocean currents go and why basically, to break it down. Yeah, so that's what I'm interested in.
All right, and what is your role? What are your responsibilities on the cruise?
Well, I'm pretty much responsible for operating the CTD, which is an instrument that measures the salinity, temperature, and density of the ocean, and you can also put other measurement devices onto it. So we also get oxygen, for example, and how much chlorophyll is in the water column. Yeah, so I'm basically responsible for that, putting it in and out, and dealing with the data afterwards.
But you also have to open and close the bottles, or?
So we get a profile of what we see in the ocean, and based on that we decide on where to fire the bottles, or where to close them. And then I tell the winch to stop there, then we wait for a bit so the water sets, and then we fire. It's called firing the bottles, and then we have water from that exact depth. Okay. Yes,
the CTD, which is the it's called the rosette, isn't it?
Yes,
which is the equipment that goes in, and then you attach your water sampling bottles to the rosette.
Yes.
Because I keep calling it the CTD, and then Andrea says, no, it's not actually the CTD, it's the CTD rosette.
Yeah, so the CTD is just a measuring device. It's like at the bottom of the whole instrument you're referring to.
Okay.
And then on the CTD rosette, which is the steel thingy, there the bottles are attached.
Okay.
And that's where we get the water samples, but that's not the CTD per se.
Okay. So the CTD feeds back the information to you in your control room, and then when it reaches a height or depth that you've chosen, then you're able to open the bottles at that point.
Yeah, or close them.
Close them, sorry, they're already open. Yes, that's the other thing I didn't understand. So they're open at both ends, so the water's flowing through them.
Yeah.
And then whenever you want the sample, then you close them to capture that sample.
Yes. Yes, and we mainly do that, so we go down, so we have a complete profile, and then when we go back up, that's the part when we close the bottles, because we want to know what we're having in the bottles before, otherwise it wouldn't make any sense.
Okay.
And so on the way up, the bottles are closed. Okay. I'm also closing every single bottle, because otherwise we will have like a bit shaky CTD, because the weight wouldn't be balanced evenly. Yeah.
So you did a mini presentation yesterday, which was about your initial observations. Can you tell me if there was anything that you found particularly interesting?
Well, we encountered an eddy at some point. So mostly we're here on the shelf, so the water is pretty shallow, basically. Yep. And that doesn't give me that many interesting water profiles. As you've seen, it's like a lot of straight lines because the water is just mixed.
Okay.
And then we once went out further into the open ocean, and we encountered an eddy, which is pretty big here. It's like around, 100 kilometers maybe. Mm-hmm. And there we actually got a good profile, for me good, because we saw different water masses which have different origins, and then I was curious how this eddy looked, and I asked a friend of mine to provide me some satellite data, because Wi-Fi is pretty limited here, and we looked into SWOT data, which is a pretty new satellite, and it's pretty exciting because you can see a lot of structures on the ocean. And always, if you have an eddy and if you look into sea surface height anomaly, you can identify it by that. And we saw that we had a sea level depression of about 0.3 meters, I think, in that region, which is pretty common for a cyclonic eddy, which we went into. And yeah, I like this stuff to kind of cross-validate. And I find it always interesting because before I started studying, I thought like, okay, we have the ocean. It's a flat thing.
Yes.
We might have some waves, that's it. But we actually have a lot of differences in sea level height and just the water itself. So that's always fascinating.
Yes, I think it's amazing as well. I never imagined that you could have a bowl, a dip in the level of the seas. It sounds amazing. And that's because was it cyclonic or anticyclonic?
It was cyclonic, so
okay.
You have the cyclonic rotation, and then there's some kind of force which always acts to the right in the northern hemisphere.
Okay.
And so as it acts to the right and it's rotating that way, it's acting out of the eddy, so the water is transported out. So
and that's why you get the dip. Okay, so if it's going around the other way,
then you would have a doming.
Okay, so I think that's amazing. And of course you can't see it, you're not aware of it.
Yeah, obviously not, but you can see it in satellite pictures.
Yes.
And
now, if I could ask you, what persuaded you to take up sciences as a career?
I don't know, I think I kind of just got into it, but one thing was for sure going to cruises. Like before I started studying my bachelor's, they already advertised it with cruises.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, they did.
That's
and I always wanted to go.
Yes.
And also just doing something kind of useful, I think. Or I hope I can do something, but we will see. I'm just at the very beginning, so.
Okay, very good. So what's the next step for you?
I have to finish my master's, and then I would like to do a PhD, but we will see.
But it takes time. I mean, when do you finish your master's?
Probably in October.
Okay, and then a PhD would take you how many more years?
I think 3 to 4.
Another 3 or 4 years, okay.
Yeah, but it's fine. That way I can work in my field, otherwise I would have to completely do something different.
Sure, yeah. Okay, sounds excellent. Right, so for anyone thinking about going into sciences or trying to make a decision, should I go down this route or this route or this route, have you anything that you would say to them? Have you any advice to young learners?
I think if you think about it, and if you kind of are interested into something like this, you will get some great experiences for sure.
Sure.
Also starting in your early career basically. And you can always decide to do something different. So you can start doing science, and then if you say, okay, this is not something for me, then you're still very educated and you can still work at some different places. And these experience that you get and the work that you do, nobody can take that away from you. Yeah, it's fun, and you get to meet so many new people all the time, and also different cultures all the time, so it's really great. Just do it. Right,
great. Well, thank you very much for joining us. It was fascinating, and hopefully it will give people an idea of how exciting it is to get into marine sciences or sciences generally.
Yeah.
So thank you very much.
Thank you.